full of energy, full of curiosity, and full of a ton of trouble.
If you're reading this now, odds are I've already left town.
Hello everyone, and welcome back to Wit and Ink. Today we're going all the way to Fool and back through the book Pinocchio. Now what if I told you that Pinocchio's story is not just about a wooden puppet who wants to be a real boy? This story takes us on a journey of mischief, magic, hard lessons, every lie has a consequence, and adventure lurks around every corner. My copy of the book is called The Adventures of Pinocchio by Carlo Collodi. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. If not, you guys can correct me in the comments. But it was written in the year 1881, and Carlo, he sent the first chapter to his friend, and it was published in a newspaper in the same year, that same chapter. And he continued with it, and it was such a great hit that by the year 1892 it was published into an actual book. Do I have your attention? Then if I do, come along with me and let's jump into these pages and learn more about the adventures of Pinocchio, where the story is wilder and even more chaotic than you might have remembered. Before we get into things, here are a couple of characters and things that I prepped beforehand to add into my journal spread today. Some of those things, as you can see here, are a fox, a cat, a tree, and our main character, Pinocchio. Now, here we go on to our spoiler-free nutshell of this book. Our story begins with Geppetto. He's a poor but kind-hearted carpenter who carves a puppet out of some magical wood. And right from the beginning, Pinocchio is three things: full of energy, full of curiosity, and full of a ton of trouble. Though he comes to life, Pinocchio is mischievous and struggles to follow the right path. He ends up running away, ignores advice, and constantly gets himself in trouble. And I mean constantly. As he sets out on various adventures that he has, he encounters mysterious and sometimes even dangerous characters who test his judgment and morality. Throughout his journey, he has many people warn him to be good, but does our little wooden troublemaker listen? Absolutely not. Nope. No. Instead, Pinocchio decides that he's gonna set off on an adventure with tricksters, temptations, and near disasters. And when I say near disasters, it's even more tragic than in the movie. Pinocchio, as a result of this, has to learn many important life lessons about honesty, responsibility, and the value of hard work. I'm sure all of us had to learn that, didn't we? His ultimate dream is to become a real boy. But the path that he's on to achieve it is filled with challenges and lots of personal growth. This story is actually one that is really dear to my heart, because the first time that I actually had interaction with it was watching the Disney adaptation of Pinocchio. I really enjoyed that movie. Anyone can tell you I really enjoyed watching Pinocchio. So when I was actually gifted this book, I was really excited to read it. I was a little shocked that it wasn't the same as Disney's adaptation, but I was really excited to get this book. And not trying to give too many spoilers, but when I say that the book is dread compared to the actual movie, it is literally dread. It is totally devastating. And for me, when I first watched the Disney movie, the scene, if you guys have watched it, if not, I'm sorry, I'm spoiling it a little bit. But the scene with the donkeys, that was totally devastating to me as a child. So certain parts in this book is even more devastating than that. So you can only imagine. I think the best part for me in this book was just Pinocchio's overall struggle to become a real boy. Every single time that I thought that, hey, Pinocchio, he got into some trouble, he was taught a lesson, he's learned his lesson, he's gonna, move on from this. Pinocchio, he goes back and he gets into even more trouble than he did in the first place. One example of that was when he went to the Field of Miracles with the cat and the fox and ended up being conned out of his fortune. Like, he had some gold coins, and when they went to this Field of Miracles, not trying to give too much away, he was conned out of it by them. And it wasn't even that he was just conned out of the coins, he was also near death in that same scene. And after that, because he was robbed from, he ended up in prison as well, even though he was the one that was being robbed from. And you would think that because of that whole situation with the fox, the cat, not having his money, going to prison, that he would learn from that. No, he actually comes out of prison and gets himself into some more trouble. The best part of this book for me was seeing him going through his trials and then learning his lesson, but still going back to doing something else and going through another trial. He would always say, I'm trying to be a good boy, I'm trying to become a boy, and then he would do something else, and it puts back his progress a little bit, but then he does something good and he raises above that again, and then he goes down, kind of like he goes up and down this slope throughout the book. In terms of things that I wasn't a fan of, there aren't many things that I can think of. From comparing the movie and the book, the different perspectives that they portray, I feel like the book gives a lot more than what the movie did, and I feel like I love that a whole lot more. There were specific characters that I didn't like in particular, like Lampwick. If you watch the Disney adaptation, he would be the guy that went with Pinocchio to the Land of Fun. In this case, it would be Fulafu. Inside of this book, he was Pinocchio's friend. I wasn't a fan of him. I actually found him to be quite annoying, but from a general perspective, I saw how he added to the book and I understood his role, but I didn't like him. But I think it was well written for me not to like him, if that makes sense. And he also did his job, which was to play a part in showing us how certain things can get us into trouble and how we can learn from that mistake. In terms of things we can learn from this book, there's many things, especially for children, those who are reading this, but I'm only going to touch on 3 of those. The first one is that throughout his journey, Pinocchio, as I said before, he makes a lot of reckless choices, and they lead him into some serious trouble at times. And one of those choices in the book is when Pinocchio runs away with Lampwick to Fulafu, or the land where they don't have any schoolwork. It's just all fun and games the entire day. And this resulted in them turning into donkeys. And it was, as I said at the beginning, it was really frightening for me in the Disney adaptation. But in this book, it's like 10 times that. In this book, they didn't even just turn into donkeys. I don't want to spoil it, but especially for Lampwick, the outcome is just crazy. The outcome is way worse than what would have happened in a Disney film. And I guess they couldn't portray that in the film, but to a child that would be reading it, it would be quite frightening. And I guess that's the point, to help them see, hey, if you don't do your schoolwork and if you don't pay attention in class and actually work and do well, you can turn into a donkey, just like Lampwick and Pinocchio. And I think this book, it just, emphasizes that every decision, whether it's good or whether it's bad, has results, and we need to take responsibility for our actions, because Pinocchio had to take responsibility each and every time, even sometimes when that decision or that choice, he wasn't the only one that made it, but he suffered dearly, and sometimes the people that were with him got away. Another thing that we learned, the second thing I wanted to touch on, is with Geppetto and the fairy with the turquoise hair. They represent really good, caring parental figures for Pinocchio. No matter what Pinocchio did, whether he ran away from home or he decided he wasn't gonna go to school, or he was gonna use all his money, sell, his book or whatever, no matter what it was, the turquoise fairy was always expecting him to return, and Geppetto was always expecting him to return. They always forgive him. They always give him a second chance. Even when Pinocchio runs away and she is literally at the brink of death, thinking, sad for Pinocchio that he hasn't come back home, she still believes in him that he's going to do the right thing. And I thought that was a good way to show that love, discipline, and guidance from elders can help children grow into responsible adults. Because imagine if they had given up on Pinocchio. But because of them, Pinocchio was able to learn and grow because of that. They didn't give up on him no matter what. And even though Pinocchio was slow to listen, he was slow to obey, eventually his heart was able to turn, and he eventually truly wanted to do good and be good and to just be a good boy or son to Geppetto and the blue fairy with the turquoise hair. And the last one that I think is borderline the best thing that can be taught from this book is that no matter what, no matter how many mistakes Pinocchio made, no matter what, Pinocchio is always given a chance to redeem himself. Always. No matter how many times he messed up. No matter what, he's always given the chance to prove that he can be a real boy, that he wants to be a real boy, and he can do what real boys do. It just took him a while. As I said, he made many mistakes, but it just shows that no matter how many mistakes you make, it's not about the mistakes, it's about how many times you get up after that and press and go forward. And it just is inspiring to children, yes, but also, for me, I got inspired reading Pinocchio, just seeing his journey and knowing that, yeah, I can mess up once, twice, 3 times, but I can become a real boy or a real girl. Yeah. The Adventures of Pinocchio is a book that made me see Pinocchio in a very, very different light. As I said before, if Pinocchio can become a real boy, we can become our best selves. He became his best self, so can you. So can all of us. We can become our best selves. This book for me is a 4 out of 5. I give it a 4 out of 5 because I really liked how much more was added to the story. It gave Pinocchio's character more depth and made him feel more relatable. I think the people that would be interested in reading this book are probably children, of course, those who like classics that are a bit darker, those who also like the original take on certain stories that are already out there, because this is like the original. What about you guys though? Have you read this book? What did you think about it? Did you like it? Did you think it was better than the movie? Let me know in the comments. And also, if you like this video, don't forget to give it a big thumbs up. Be sure to subscribe so you can see more content like this. Also, if there's any other suggestions that you guys think that you would like me to read and do a video on, leave those in the comments as well, because I would love to know what you guys are interested in and what you guys are reading. So that's it for me here at Wit and Ink. Thank you guys for tuning in. And if you guys want to see another review about another really interesting book that I read, go ahead and click over here. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys later. Bye.
If you're reading this now, odds are I've already left town.
This story is all about adventure. No, it's not. Now, my copy of the book is called The Adventures of Pinocchio by Carlo Collodi. That's not the man name, you know. It's Collodi. But it was published in the year 1892, right? I hope. 1881. And it was published in the year it was not published, it was written in 1881. And then what happened was that it was published, the first chapters was published in 1892.
2,000 years later.
Is that correct? Yes. But that's not the script, but good job. I'd be like, can you see the book? No. Do I have your attention? Let's try that again. Ooh, wait, let me make sure it's like, okay. Right from the beginning, Pinocchio is full of energy, curiosity. Every single time what is it trying to say here? And there's hi. That's scary. Thank you.